Welcome back, folks. Today, oh golly, that one was sticky. Today we are sizing some 223, and I just went to town with all this lanolin. Oh yeah, there we go, nice and smooth. Anyways, yeah, we use the old home brew alcohol and lanolin, about a 1 to 10-ish sort of mixture. And I'm actually using iso heat, not alcohol, because it's like 99% or something, so it evaporates a little better. And all you're left with is a nice lanolin covered case, which works really well. Any of these dents you see were from old crappy beat up cases. Let me find one here and we'll size it out. So this one's pretty ugly. Let's run it through and see what happens. Just go gentle and feel your way through it. All right, there's the primer. No big deal. And you see that sized out just perfectly, and the rest of those dents will fire form when you actually shoot it. So don't be afraid if you see some stepped on cases or dinged up necks or whatnot when you're picking up brass at the range. Like, this one's not pretty, but there's nothing wrong with them. There are some here that are like pretty questionable, and I'll point those out if we get to them. But out of all these so far, I've only culled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them so far. And that's only because the primer, the anvil punched out, but the ring of the rim of the primer, or the cup rather, was still stuck in there. I don't know how that works, but ooh, this is a good one. So there's a pretty nasty one, but don't worry, we're gonna size this and you'll be amazed. Just be gentle. There's the primer, there we go. Give it a quick little wipey. And that's all you're left with, and that's gonna fire form out. No cracking and no splits, very nice. And there's a new piece of brass to use. As I was just explaining, the anvil gets punched out, but part of that cup is still stuck in there, so we're gonna get rid of him. Weird how that kind of happens, but I heard it, and I felt what it was like, and I've seen 6 of them so far. This must have been really corroded, or the primer sealed in there really, really well for it to have punched through rather than come out of its friction fit. So we're just doing our basic eyeball inspection here as we're going, feeling out any of the dents and dings, and as you can see, even those pretty bad ones size out without any issues. Ooh, that one sounded crappy. Same freaking thing. Weird. This brass doesn't even look that old. Surprised my tiny little RCBS decapping pin hasn't bit the dust yet. Gentle. It is a small base die too, so we're moving quite a bit of material. Trying to keep the neck off the shoulder area to avoid any sort of hydraulic dents or any of that nonsense. And it's doing pretty good. None so far, unless it already had one to begin with. Then it sort of likes to pool up in those areas. But you see this one has some of that lanolin. If you just wipe it off, I can feel there are no dents, and it's a perfect case. So I just give them a quick feel and sort of wipe off what I can from that shoulder area. Here's a pretty nasty one. Ooh, that one's pretty questionable. Let's give it a shot. And make sure you got lube down in the neck there. I like to, wipe it off the gloves or whatever. Make sure your expander has some lube on it. And we'll go nice and slow here. Oh yeah, he's sticky. All right, primer's a little tough. There it goes. So with this small base dye, you got to make sure to work it slowly. And you saw how I had to kind of go back and forth so it wouldn't stick. And that's what you're left with. That's pretty extreme right there. But as I'm looking at it, I can't see any actual crease. We'll set him aside. Maybe we can chop him into 300 blackout. But you see these ones that are, not crushed or anything. They work just smooth as butter. Not a single problem here. Neck out around, no problem. And we're already straightened out. Comes back out and sets the tension. And it's perfect, and you see no primer. So you're like, dummy, you just loaded all that 223. Why are you doing more? Well, because I know I'm out of brass. I freaking reloaded all of it. Ooh, that one felt a little tough, but just go slow and you can feel it. So yeah, I ran out of brass. Now I gotta make a bunch more brass for the next thing we need to load. Okay, a little bit of a ding on the shoulder there. I'll see if any of the lubricant exaggerates that. No, just fine. All right, very nice. That head had a little bit of a ding on it, the case head. So it you'll feel them get caught on your shell holder, but most of the time you can freely spin them, but you'll feel if it was in like a, ooh, what the hell is that? That's another busted primer. Yeah. Jesus, man. So yeah, that's the third one so far. I have not been getting them as, that frequently until just now, but so now we're up to 8, maybe 9, I don't know. It's a growing pile. But that noise was a little alarming. Okay, well, as long as you go slow and gentle and use sufficient lubrication, you'll be good. And every few hundred rounds, I take out my stem here, I check my expander ball and clean that off and get all the gunk out of the sizing die. That way if you have maybe a burr or a piece of sand or something, it's not going to scratch your die or your brass. But mostly it doesn't scratch your die. So all this random Lake City, who knows what gun it came out of. That's part of the reason of the small base die. They could have been some pretty loose chambers. So I like to make sure it can go back down to the minimum spec. So anyways, I thought it would be kind of funny to do another sizing the brass on the rock shucker, since that was my very first video 2 years ago yesterday. So yeah, 2-year-old channel, whoopee, good for us. Thanks for hanging out, folks. I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't fun. You guys make it fun with the comments and the conversation and the advice mostly. I started this because I'm an idiot and I had lots of questions, oopsie. And also I had previous questions that I'd answered on my own or found out an answer to that I wanted to share with some other new loaders, being the whole pandemic thing and all that. Lots of new reloaders. All right, we got a good one here to play with. A little ding on the mouth and a ding on the shoulder. Let's straighten that right out. Gentle on the mouth, there we go. Deprimed piece of cake. Actually, see these little See these little gouges here? I'm gonna toss this one into the chop to blackout pile. Because when you cut that off, it'll be where the mouth is rather than on the shoulder. And I can still use it for 300 blackout, no problemo. So that's still a totally usable case for me. Anyways, I'm just rambling, but thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for hanging out while we just play with some brass. And let me know what you guys like to do with your bulk spammy 223 brass. How do you go about it? Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.